Well, hello and welcome to the Caribbean, the sunny and hot Caribbean. Thought we'd give you a flavour of what we've been doing this week, and welcome to our Emerald Azzurra Experience review. Welcome!
So we've been on the ship about a week now, where this is our last full day. We joined in Bridgetown and we've basically been sailing around all the little Grenadine islands. So at the moment we're in Caracau, but we've been to Union Island, we've been to Meru, we've been to Bequia and lots of the little islands, haven't we? We haven't really travelled far in between destinations at all.
Well, the actual itinerary is called the Grenadines and Grenada Adventure. We've basically kept in a very, very small, compact area of, well, the Grenadines. And we've been just island hopping, very short little stints between islands, but we've had a really deep dive into the Grenadines. And what we're going to do now is just show you a small sort of montage of what we've got up to this week.
Okay, so when you're on board, most of the excursions are included within your fare. There are a couple of extra cost excursions, but they're not generally too expensive. So yesterday we went on one to a tiny little sandbank island in the middle of the Caribbean called Mopian Island, and that was $79 each for us. That was an extra cost fare, but most of them have been included. And you know, we've had a mix of wet landings, tenders, and we had one stay where we were docked up, didn't we? And during that stay we didn't, because the weather wasn't great, it kept raining, but we could have taken the bikes out. They have electric bikes on board, don't they?
Yep, they have a limited number of electric bikes on board, but they are really, really good. They've got these kind of like chunky tyres on, and they look really good fun. Unfortunately, we couldn't get out on one on this trip, as you said, but definitely next time we're going to go for that, because we love all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you were somewhere where you were alongside a lot, you'd be able to take them out whenever you wanted, I think, but we only had one alongside, otherwise we've been tendering, haven't we?
But as you can see from our little montage we've just shown you, the places are so small and they're so Caribbean, aren't they? I mean, it's really, really lovely to get into these tiny little places. You can only reach these sort of things with this sort of size of ship. And actually, mentioning the ship, why don't we just talk a little bit about the ship itself, size of it and stuff like that?
Yeah. The ship itself, well, it would describe itself as a luxury yacht. There's a capacity for about 100 guests on board, and I think it's 79 crew or something, isn't it? We've been sailing with about 80 guests on board, so it is really an intimate experience, and everybody is getting to know each other. Captain is always around. He's sailing with his daughter at the moment, who's come out to sail with him, so that's lovely. It's been very family orientated.
It has.
Yeah.
Captain Ian, he's great. I mean, he's always about. You see him all over the place. This is one of the benefits of being on such a small ship with 100 guests. They're just there for you, and they chat with you, and they remember your name, and it's just such
all the crew do.
Yeah, they remember your name, they remember your suite number, so if you want to order anything, like a drink or anything like that, you don't hand your card over. It just feels so relaxed and so sort of smooth, I suppose.
And you obviously get to know other passengers as well, so that's great. They, you know, it all becomes very has a very family feel about it really, doesn't it, after a couple of days.
Now, as you can see from the aerial footage we're just showing you now, the ship is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's one of the prettiest ships I think we've ever been on. The design of it is just like a super yacht. You just look at it and it's just like, wow. You know, you wouldn't think it was a cruise ship, if you like.
If you've ever been on Emerald River ship though, there is a lot of the DNA from Emerald River ships on the ship. So the design,
The style of it.
everything is, all the interior decor and everything is very, very similar, isn't it?
With regard to the style of the ship, we've only been on one, Emerald Radiance in the Douro, and I think what Emerald have tried to do is take the style and the sort of decor of the river ships and translate them to small ocean ships. It says white marble everywhere, there's lots of reflected surfaces. Some people would say that it's contemporary but it's not soft enough for them. If you're used to something like Uniworld, it might be a bit of a stark contrast
There's
for you.
not much colour.
There's
It's
always
all
colour.
very light beiges, light greys and whites.
Mirrored surfaces, white marble.
Lots of reflective.
But if you're used to the river ships, you'll be right at home. I actually personally like it. I think it's got a certain style about it, and it's definitely translated to the ships really, really well.
As is, I would say the dining is very similar as well, isn't it? There's only really one main dining room, the cucina dining room, and that's where you have breakfast, lunch and dinner. Breakfast and lunch are buffet, and then in the evening it's a la carte menu, but very, very similar to a river ship. So there's usually a couple of starters, a couple of soups, 3 main courses to choose from, and then 3 desserts, aren't there? So it's quite a limited menu, but obviously it's quite a small ship.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that there's only 100 guests on board, so you're not going to get the breadth of sort of dining options that you would on even something like a Silver Sea ship or a Seabourn ship where you've got between 400 and 700 guests. I mean, it's 100 guests. I mean, it's tiny.
Yeah.
And I think the food they offer for 100 guests is really good. If you're used to the larger ships, you'll find the menu quite limited.
Apart from the daily choices, there's an always available menu with steaks and salmon and things like that on it, spaghetti bolognese, isn't there? And you can have that in your suite as well.
Yeah.
And I have to say, we've been travelling with a few people that have got some dietary requirements. We've also been travelling with a little 4-year-old, and they have been absolutely superb and not made a big deal about it. It's just been very quietly accommodated. It's been amazing. And the chef, again, Chef Paul is always around, isn't
Chef
he?
Paul, the head
Coming
chef,
out.
he is amazing. He's just like the captain, he's always there.
Yeah.
And they've tailored what they give people that have got intolerances really well.
Yeah.
Really well. So a big thumbs up for that. And if you're vegan or vegetarian, because we spoke to Chef Paul about this, they will make it for you. So they're very aware of people's dietary requirements, which I think is great.
The other dining option is up by the aqua pool, up on the back of deck 6. And that's a very much more informal style dining. So at breakfast time, they just have some pastries and continental breakfast laid out. At lunchtime, they have flatbreads and burgers or hot dogs. So the flatbread menu is really
Flatbeds, we want flatbed in there.
It's really lovely. There's loads of different options on that, and then the burgers, we've had a burger up there. It's really nice.
And for a ship this small to have that kind of thing is absolutely great, because you can have a burger by the pool.
Yeah, it's not open in the evening, but the main restaurant does have a lovely outdoor terrace. So if you like to eat al fresco, there is still the option to eat outside. So that's the dining.
That is. Big thumbs up for that. One of the biggest public spaces is the Amici Lounge, which is on deck 3, I believe. Is that deck 3?
Yeah, it's behind.
It's behind
there's the
reception
restaurant,
area.
then there's the reception, then there's the Amici
That's right.
Lounge.
And the Amici Lounge is, because there's no theatre on board, it's such a small ship, so everything happens in the Amici Lounge. And it's great because it's a great meeting point for pre-dinner drinks. If the top decks are a little bit windy, there's a lot of things going on in there. There's quizzes, there's entertainment, I'll let Helen explain.
Yeah, there's Katie, who's the sort of resident pianist. So she's often in there pre-dinner and sometimes after dinner as
She also plays the guitar. In fact, she
What did
plays
I
the
say?
guitar
Did I
100%
say-
more than she
did I
plays the
say
piano.
I'm sorry, Katie.
right.
Katie does well.
Katie's an excellent
she might
guitarist.
She might play the piano. I don't know. We haven't seen her play the piano because I don't think there's a piano on board. But
I don't think there is a piano on
No.
board, is there? So,
Sorry.
random fact from Helen.
And then we have Dean, who's our entertainment host guy. He runs all the quizzes, and there's been some trivia during the day and also after dinner. And we've had game show night last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he also is a brilliant singer. So he did one night where he did some singing, and last night he actually came around the dining room.
Oh,
while
he
we were
did?
eating.
Crooning.
Yeah, while we were
Crooning.
having our desserts.
He
It
was-
was fabulous. It was lovely. Yeah. So
Yeah, that
there's
was really
him.
fun.
And then we also have Brent, who's our lifestyle coach. So he's the guy that arranges if you wanted to go out on the bikes or if you wanted to take some of the stuff off the marina, like the paddle boards. And he's always on the beach if we've got paddle boards or the kayaks out, isn't he? And he's also a really good wealth of information.
Really helpful, they're really friendly, they get to know you. And again, this is another benefit of small ship cruising. You know, if you don't like the crowds and you want a little bit more of a personal experience, everyone just gets to know you and it's great.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
God, we could do with that. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Some lovely guys just brought in a fruit plate, which was what we get in our suite every day.
Every day.
Fabulous, isn't it? Especially when you come back from an excursion, you think, oh, look at that. Anyway, what were you saying?
So, back to the lounge. There's a lovely bar in there, a big bar. There is a drinks package available, but there is always wine and beer and soft drinks available at lunch and dinner time. And we've been buying the odd cocktail, and they're not massively expensive, about $12.
About $12. It's great for solos as well. We've got a lot of solo travellers on board. I've met more solo travellers on here than I think I've met on any size ship. So,
but it's great. They all eat together and go out on excursions together and everything. It's really nice because it's so small. It is really nice.
Such a nice sociable place. So if you're a solo traveller and you want to get out and experience something on a smaller ship, then this is definitely
very good for solo travelling.
So if you go just down one deck to deck 2, there's a small area down there. It's not small, it's quite significant. It's where the spa is and the gym. Now, obviously for the size of the ship, you wouldn't expect much from the gym, but actually it's a really good little gym. Really well thought out. They've got a couple of massage rooms in there, and they've also got a really clever infrared sauna, which doesn't heat the air, it heats your body, apparently. We had a go, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It was quite fun.
It's mostly focused on your back, so if you've got any sort of back or shoulder issues, it's really nice.
Really, really good.
And that's also where you access the tenders as well through there.
Not an awful lot else on deck 2. There's a little salon in there as well.
And the resident spa and wellness guy, he also does complimentary yoga lessons every morning for about an hour on the open decks at 7 o'clock every morning.
Actually, let's talk about that open deck out the front, because it's near the observation lounge, which is on deck 4. So it's a very small observation lounge. There's only 4 seats in there.
There's 4 seats, and then there's like a puzzle table, which has got another 4.
That's right. There's like 4 comfy seats in there.
Yeah.
It's a lovely little place, actually. There's lots of books. There's a tea and coffee machine and a place where you can fill your water bottle up there. They've got these lovely little filtered Brita water fountains dotted around, and gives you really nice water, so you can fill your water bottle that you get in your room. And just in front of that is another area, actually, we forgot to say, that's part of the entertainment, or can form part of the entertainment.
Yes.
Because out the front of that, you've got this lovely little seating area out the front of the observation lounge, but in front of that is quite large for the size of the ship. It's like a large open deck area. They bring guests on board to do like cultural enrichment, entertainment and stuff like that. So we've had, there's only been 2.
There's been 2 this week. There was one that was like very Caribbean vibe, wasn't there? And then another one which was singing and dancing.
Yeah, sort of dancing, a bit of
Grenadine sort of word. It was quite cultural.
When they bring the entertainers on board, the drinks are complimentary.
They bring round a rum punch, or I suppose depending on what area you're in. We've got rum punches.
Rum punches all round.
Yeah.
That's always a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Also on deck 4, very usefully, is a very good laundrette. There's only one on deck 4, but there's 4 excellent washers and dryers in there. They're all pre-loaded, so you don't have to worry about bringing any laundry powder or anything like that. Literally, you could just go in, turn them on, dry. The dryers are amazing. There's an ironing board and an iron in there. So we've used that.
Can I give you a fact?
Yeah.
There is more laundry space on here than there is on the entire Old America fleet. Just moving up to the top, they've got this beautiful infinity pool out the back, and actually that's just triggered what I was going to say next about the lounging areas, the external seating. Oh my goodness, I've never seen, for such a size of ship, such an array.
No, considering we sailed on PANACHE last year, which is at least twice this size with regards to the number of passengers. On there was, if there was 20 lounges, you were lucky. Whereas here, there's so many day beds, sun loungers, plenty of them in the shade. You then literally just go up some stairs at the side. It sort of takes you to the front of the ship, which isn't very, there's not much distance between that, because by the time you get to the top, it's not very wide. And that takes you to the front, and at the front there's a lovely long hot tub with a glass view, so you can sit at the front of the ship and look out. Generally, the outdoor deck spaces are lovely and really well appointed and more than adequate for the number of people that are on.
Absolutely.
There'd be no putting your towels out.
Well, we're at 80% capacity, which is not insignificant, but there's hardly ever seen anyone around. There's so much space. There's so much deck space to spread out, and also the beautiful balconies you've got in your suites as well. It's amazing. It just feels like it does feel like your own super yacht.
And although the pool is not massive, but it's enough really for you to cool down in, isn't it?
I mean, I would say one thing, we were on a similar size, and we have to sort of make comparisons with what we've, this is a review, we've got to make comparisons with what we've been in before. And this time last year we were on Le Dumont de Ville, which if you look on our channel, you'll see all the lovely videos from that. They had a swim trainer, they had a similar size pool. And if Emerald had put like one of those swim trainers in there, that would made a little bit of a difference.
The problem with the pool on here is it's not very deep. It's
so
really only about sort of waist height.
Right.
That,
They might not get a swim trainer in there.
So it is more really of a splash pool, really.
It's nice though.
You know.
That's almost it in terms of public areas, but there are a couple more public-ish areas, and one is the open bridge. So the bridge is where obviously the captain drives the ship and his officers, and it's an open bridge policy here. And again, it's another positive for small ship cruising, because you'll often find open bridges on smaller ships because obviously there's less guests and the deck crew are obviously more informal.
They don't even tend to close it during manoeuvring though, do they?
No,
Which is unusual, because
It
often, you know, smaller ships, they'll close it when they're coming in and out of port. But here they're like, no, there's a sofa, come up.
Fantastic. There is.
Down.
There's like a sofa bench there, and you just chill on that and just watch them do their stuff. It's amazing, and it's a really, really modern bridge. I mean, we've been on lots and lots of bridges, and this one is like something out of the space station. It's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a deck in front of the bridge for viewing and stuff, and everyone's just really, really friendly.
Yeah.
You just stroll up there and have a look around. And
You went up there yesterday while we were underway, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or as we moved from one place to another.
Absolutely great. And the other one is the marina deck at the back, which is something on similar sized ships you'll often find, and that's brilliant because they'll bring out the water toys.
Kayaks, paddleboards, they've got a trampoline. You can obviously just swim off the back there if you want to. It's also where you access the Zodiac. So if they're doing a Zodiac landing, then you'll access the Zodiacs from there. I suppose we have to mention the slight elephant in the room, which is the tender. It's the most unusual tender.
It is.
The tender tends to be accessed off the side of the ship, off the spar, as we said. It accommodates about 30 people, so there's only one.
Can I just say, the tender, just for clarification, is not, normally the tenders are the lifeboats, but
Yeah.
the lifeboats are the lifeboats, and the tender is a specific vehicle that lives in a garage that they bring out
Out of the side of the ship.
side of the ship, and they use that as a tender. It's a proper traditional tender rather than a lifeboat, which is actually quite fun.
But it's quite unusual in that you access it from the front of the ship when you're getting off of the ship.
The front of the tender, you mean? Not the front of the ship.
Yes, the front of the tender.
Yeah.
What did the captain call that arm that is it the cow?
A pain in the backside, I think he called it.
I can't remember what he called it. Did he call it the cowshed or something? It's very unusual in that the tender has to sort of line up with this contraption that's attached to the ship and then aim at it.
And then it locks. It locks into place.
But obviously when you've got a bit of a cross
Like a swell or a tide.
it can take a few attempts.
Let's just say literally hit and miss.
A little bit of a miss. And when it does land, sometimes it can be a bit jolty.
bit
so
jolty.
We all now just go brace, brace, brace.
Brace, brace, brace! Preserve the dental records!
But in all
That kind of thing.
seriousness, if you're the sort of person that finds tenders difficult to get on and off anyway,
The design was probably for it to be easier, but it actually is not. So
I think it's easy to get on and off. It's just difficult.
getting it docked.
Yeah.
It's like a docking process, isn't it? Rather than just a couple of the bosuns throwing the ropes up and securing it, which actually the old ways are probably the better ways.
We've been on it numerous times and we don't mind it, but it's just a word of warning if you're a bit anxious about tenders.
I've got to say the tender's great though. It's like a jet
Yeah.
boat. It's really good. It's not like your traditional
Doesn't
lifeboat.
move very much either, does
Very,
it?
very good. But, you know, if they've got it on Sakara as well, obviously works.
Well, we can show you some footage and then you can make your own mind up about it.
Oh, Helen, I just have. So when you come on board, where are you going to live for the week? Well, there's 50 suites, which gives us our 100 capacity. And you would think that they would all be balcony suites, but they're not. There's actually 6 ocean view suites right at the front on deck 3.
Behind the bar, aren't they?
Yep, so if you're on a budget, actually, it's a good place to start because the rooms are still superb. And then you've got the standard, I say standard, they're not really standard, they're still luxury, aren't they?
They're very lovely, yeah.
They're the
But-
majority of them.
Yes, most of them, and they're on decks 4 and 5. They all have lovely balconies. They're quite narrow, but they're quite wide. The furniture on them is lovely. There's like 2 very comfortable chairs and a table.
There are a few larger suites, of course. This is being a luxury yacht. There's a couple of owner suites, which is right on the top. I've got a few clips of that because we got on early. Luckily, they let us on early, so we had a quick poke around. And behind that, there's a couple of other suites. There's like 4
They're right at the
suites
front.
At the front, at the top
Yeah.
of the ship.
With large verandas, aren't they?
And then you've got-
Beautiful verandas.
Yes, and then you've got 4 lovely suites at the back. We're in one. I mean, Emerald, thank you to Emerald for giving us one of the yacht suites, which is, there are only 2 on the ship. What we're going to do now is just give you a quick look at that because it's fabulous.
And I have to say, this has been the most lovely balcony we've ever had on any ship we've been on. It's beautiful aft balcony, loads of lovely furniture and different types of furniture. There's a couple of lounges, table and chairs, an outdoor fridge. The lighting out here is lovely, so at night there's lots of different lighting if you want to come and sit out here. It's just been beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, top marks for the patio furniture or the veranda furniture here, because it's absolutely fabulous. And it's just such an amazing space, like you said.
And there's another 2 of these suites up on deck 5, which have a very similar balcony, but the actual rooms themselves
are
a little bit smaller.
Because the back of the ship is quite raked. So yeah, there's some great suites to be had. They're not cheap, because Emerald Azzurra is not cheap. But
no.
It's been fabulous, hasn't it?
Yeah, like Rich says, it's not the cheapest option, but you are paying the price for being on an exclusive ship. Not many people on it.
Small ship cruising is always going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
But if that's your preference, you don't like crowds, if you don't like all the noise, it's the way it goes.
Yes, I mean, that's one of the things that we would say in summing up, isn't it? It's just very intimate, lovely experience.
Are we going to do the summary now?
Yes, so the reason I mentioned the patio doors and their ability to lock is obviously this is quite a small ship, which does mean that it moves. You know, it moves a lot more than some of the larger ships. We've been quite lucky, really. Like we said, we've only been island hopping, so we haven't had to go far, and the seas have been quite good. But if you don't like movement, this is not going to be a ship.
Well,
for
any
you.
small ship. I mean, it's got all the latest stabilisation technology in it. It's a fabulous ship for that. But, you know, if you've got a 100-metre ship, it's not going to be as stable as a 500-metre ship. Simple as that.
No.
If you don't mind the movement, that's fine. But what you'll find with these itineraries, like the one we're on now, you're going like 10 miles between each. I mean, it literally takes about an hour to sail from one destination to the next. If you get on a good itinerary, you're never going to feel it anyway, because it's just like this.
No, we've been docked in some beautiful bays overnight, which have been really sheltered, and we've been staying there overnight, and then the captain will lift the anchor sort of early in the morning, about 7 o'clock, and we'll just pootle on for a couple of hours onto the next destination, and then we'll stay there until the next morning. So the movement hasn't bothered us at all. We had a bit of movement on the first night coming over from Barbados, but it was nothing that we haven't experienced before.
No, and I think the captain in an interview, because I asked him the question, he basically said because of the size of the ship, they've got flexibility on when they can leave an area and join an area. And in terms of that, you know, if the wind's picked up somewhere, he'll just say, well, we're going to stay here then.
Yeah.
And then we'll move in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's very, very flexible.
Yeah, I think he has a look, doesn't he? And he decides, shall we stay here overnight, or shall we move to the next destination and stay there?
And sometimes we'll move to destination early, and it might take a couple of hours, and then we just lay down our anchor in a lovely little sheltered bay, and there you go.
So a negative and a positive, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the flexibility of it, but the negative, aspect is what it is.
But overall, how would you describe your experience, your week on here, Richard?
Oh, overwhelmingly positive. It's been such a really, really good small ship experience. I think that the ship is absolutely gorgeous. When you're sitting on a beach, because we have a lot of beach days on this sort of itinerary, don't you? And it's anchored very, very close to the shore, because it's got a very shallow draft. Oh, I can't remember what you said now, 4 metres or something like that. So they can anchor in 10-metre water.
Right.
A larger ship with an 8-metre draft is not going to go anywhere near that. So they're able to get much closer to the destination you are, so you tender off, and you've still got this beautiful view of this lovely ship from where you are, and it's just so nice. I can't explain it. You have to kind of feel that thing for yourself. So, yeah, a massive thumbs up. The staterooms and the suites.
And the pool areas.
And the pool areas, they're luxury.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. The suites are luxury. You've got the amenities of a luxury suite.
I mean, it's not the cheapest way to sail the Caribbean, but
if you want a good, solid, small ship experience,
it took us a couple of days to settle in, but now we don't want to get off.
Don't want to get off. It's been a week. And
I think there's some spare rooms next week, so we could have stayed on, but we can't.
And with that, thank you for watching.
So I hope you enjoyed our review and you found it helpful. If you've got any questions about our Emerald experience, then please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to answer them for you.
And a big shout out to Emerald for hosting this trip and for letting us have such a beautiful room.
Yes.
And a big shout out to PANACHE Cruises as well, which have been with us hand in hand along the way. So if you're interested in Emerald, please give PANACHE a call on the numbers that I think you saw before. If not, they're here. And we hope to see you very, very soon. And with that, we've got an announcement on the tannoy. Does it say it's lunchtime, Helen? Anyway, until then,
goodbye.
See you later. Bye for now.